Welcome, listener, to Miles Ahead, the podcast about the connection between mental health, physical health, and spiritual health with your host, Miles and Josh.
It's the trifecta. There we go. The three
Oh, yeah.
things.
Well, and the topic for today is seasonal affective disorder, and that's a great intersection of all those things because what what blasts you physically and mentally definitely blasts you spiritually. So yeah, we're gonna get out.
Yeah, good. And it's ironic because today is a cloudless day and it's my favorite time of day. And I can already tell my mood is like 50% better because I absolutely have this damn thing going on and I hate it. And yeah, this time of year is it's when it hits hard. Usually worse in the Pacific Northwest in, November, December, January. Um, just in time for my birthday in November. It always rains on my birthday, so it's another downer. But yeah, this one, it's a thing. It's a real thing. People sometimes don't think it's a thing, but it's a thing. And if you are prone to depression, then you're prone to have this thump you on the head even harder. So yeah, we'll get into some of that and the diagnostic aspect of it with psychology, and then what we can do about it, and how we both personally experience it or not. Do you personally experience it?
Yeah, in a way, yeah, for sure I do. I mean, if, for me the biggest thing is the sleep cycle. My sleep cycle changes,
Ooh,
and
yes.
that messes with my energy in the morning. So I have to sleep a little bit later than I would like to,
Hmm.
or to feel fully recharged, which affects other things. And I think like a lot of people, I just am a creature of that has preferences, and my preferences are to be out and about and doing more. And the
Yes.
easier when there's more daylight. So the
Yes.
upside is though I do like the cold. So I actually like the lower
Yeah.
temperature,
Yeah. That's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, I'll take a cold, sunny day any day over a hot, rainy day. 100%.
right? Totally.
It's weird, man.
Oh, oh.
Oh,
Here's a little
special
permitted.
guest appearance. That's what we wanted to get on camera. Hello.
Good.
You too. Nice work on seeing a bald eagle.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Fresh
Oh,
from birding.
It was awesome. Okay, let's get back to it.
okay.
Okay, let me.
Love you.
Future podcast guest right there. Here we go.
That's right.
All right. Now you got to explain to the listeners what just happened.
Yes, that's my girlfriend. uh Kayla. She is a semi-professional birder and very professional partner. She's uh she just moved in about 90 days ago, and she's getting familiar with the area. So today was her first birding trip with a meetup group that does monthly bird watching.
Great. And she
So
got lucky today. Saw like pretty much the taxonomy of like the coolest birds.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
there wasn't a sparrow on that damn list. It was all
There
the
wasn't-
cool ones.
No, there wasn't a sparrow. Bald eagle, great blue heron, kestrel, geese, bubblehead duck, mallard, red-tailed hawk, northern flicker. I don't even know what all those things are.
Me neither of this, but they sound really cool.
But
No
yeah,
sparrows. Yeah.
that's really cool.
And you can't do that with a seasonal affective disorder as easy. You can't bird as easy.
No, no, it helps. It helps when you have a sunny day and you don't get
Mhm.
enough of those in the Pacific Northwest in the winter. But so
No,
tell me your so you have some experience with this, and
unfortunately, yes.
what is is there a recommended for yeah, what's the diagnosis of this? How do you know if you
Mhm.
have it?
Have you have it? So in the DSM, the Diagnostic Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, is it's like where we classify all the things that are wrong with us, and it's always being updated. And so it's, don't take it with a grain of salt. It's just a snapshot of disorders. Like a bunch of psychiatrists get together annually and decide what goes in and what goes out, and they're constantly updating. But this one's in there, called SAD, which is, on the nose, the acronym, seasonal affective disorder. The definition is seasonal affective disorder is a form of depression, also known as SAD, SAD, seasonal depression or winter depression. This disorder is identified as a type of depression that's sort of like major depressive disorder with a seasonal pattern. And the criteria are feeling sad or having a depressed mood, loss of interest or pleasure in activities once enjoyed. We also call that anhedonia for depression speak. It's the opposite of like hedonism, like anhedonia, against hedonism. Like everything just feels meh. Things you usually like to do just don't hit the spot. Changes in appetite, usually eating more, craving carbs. I'm sure you can speak to that one in your space. Changes in sleep, usually sleeping too much, loss of energy or increased fatigue despite increased sleep hours, increase in purposelessness, decrease in physical activity, inability to sit still, pacing, hand wringing, or slowed movements or speech. These actions must be severe enough to be observable to others, just as to meet the criteria for the disorder. Feelings of worthlessness or guilt, difficulty thinking, concentrating, or making suicide, or making decisions up to thoughts of suicide or death being the most severe. It can begin at any age, but typically starts when a person is between 18 and 30. I think I'm outside that box because I was born in Utah and I moved here when I was 7. And my mom said I just incessantly complained about the rain every year. And that's been the pattern ever since. I lived in Germany and Colorado and spent time in Hawaii. Of course, it magically just disappeared. It wasn't there. So when I came back here, I was like, yeah, this is definitely a thing. Every year I threaten to move. And then days like this happen and spring comes and go, oh, this is why I still live here. So I have to tell myself rain is the tuition we pay for the spring and summer that we get here with the green. You can't beat summers here. I mean, it's hard to beat a summer in the Pacific Northwest. So it's the tuition you pay in my mind. But that's the DSM definition. And we can go from there.
I love it.
That's the boring clinical part.
Well, so that's like so many of these disorders, like there's a lot of things it encompasses. Scary that like slowed speech. I could use some of that. I think sometimes I talk faster than I think, but
Me too. Me too.
in the but in the interest of how do we deal with seasonal affective disorder, or what does it say, a major depressive state, major depressive, it's
an aspect of major depressive disorder. Yeah, if you have a diagnosis that meet criteria for that, then you're much more likely to have this as like an add-on to that, sort of a spin-off of the same disorder in a way. Just makes it all worse, makes your depression worse.
Okay.
And you can have aspects, you could have like 3 of these criteria and not meet the full diagnosis, but still have some effects of it. I think everybody has a little bit, unless you are that freakazoid who just loves the rain. I've met a few of those people. I'm like, you are in the right state. Or Oregon or Washington, perfect for you.
Well, tell me about the role of taking contrary action to seasonal affective disorder.
Like, what do you do against it?
So if you don't feel like exercise, you don't feel like eating, and you don't feel like, well, like what
do you do?
Obviously, those are the primary ways you fight, right? I understand. Like, so
you roll out of bed and get your eyeballs into light, like Huberman says. He's right about that. You got to get, like you were talking about, your circadian rhythms get thrown off, and that's somewhat normal. And then we have daylight savings, which is an extra stupidity that we need to get rid of. I call it daylight losings because I don't see how we have more daylight. But you need to get that sunlight in the eyeballs. It makes it so much worse if you don't do that. And those little SAD lamps, they help a little bit, but I don't think they hit all the correct neural pathways that the actual sun can do. Just listen to Huberman Lab. He's talked about this ad infinitum, and a much better expert than I am. But 10 minutes a day when it's sunny is enough. But if it's cloud cover, you got to be like 15 to 20 minutes. Even if you had to put an umbrella out there over your head or put a jacket on, just do it. That it will help. It's better than nothing, a lot better than nothing. And then once you do that, you might get a little more energy, increase some cortisol, get some things going. If you can move, you can take a walk in the rain. That's even better. Get some physical activity going. That can start, getting you out of the funk. Cold water immersion, heck yeah, that'll increase the dopamine, what you need, because you're feeling the funk. Dopamine will get you a little bit out of the funk, and you get some adrenaline going, and that's also helpful. And there's going to be a lot of willpower needed at first, especially when you're feeling flat like that. But it's cumulative. You got to keep doing it. You can't just do one day and call it good for the week. You got to do it every day and have like best practices around it to manage it. Some people do antidepressants. That's like they come off during the sunny season and they go back on during the shit season. So there are different avenues to this, but yeah, physical activity and light viewing, those are real big. And you can speak to the physical activity part because that's your jam.
Yeah, man. I mean, the beauty part, I think the reason why people that I work with get such outsized results is because they kind of onboard themselves, or they agree to doing things they specifically don't want to do. That's why they hire a coach. And like the not wanting to move, not wanting to eat, or being afraid of movement, like the amount of hormonal benefits that come from activity, like specifically strength training, but also running, cardiovascular. I mean, so huge for your mental health. And if you're working with me, or you're in a coaching program where that's what you're doing, you're just automatically getting juiced, and it even works better. I mean, in my opinion, my best days, the days that have the most excitement for me, are the days where I don't feel like doing something, and then I do the physical training, right? Eating is the same way. I'm not somebody who likes food. I'm a very high strung person. I don't slow down very much. It's hard to remind myself to eat. But when I'm eating on a plan, like I I feel qualitatively different, and it does something to your brain. I was just reading on about dopamine, and a dopamine um what's it called, the anti-addiction diet, or the dopamine diet or something. But it was essentially just a healthy diet. It was like high protein, lots of different colors of vegetables, healthy fats. And when you're eating that way, you're I think I mentioned this in our last episode, but the pressure to there's less anxiety, less pressure to cope with numbing behaviors like video games or alcohol, or things that are a little bit bad for you, or have more physical consequences and benefits. I'll frame it that way. But if you don't feel like doing it, so you have seasonal affective disorder, or if you're just like feeling tired and shitty, the more deposits you put into your bank when you're feeling that way, the more dramatic of the upswing that you get from it. Because if you're already feeling good and you go bang out a great workout, cool, you do feel juiced, but not as juiced as you feel from like going from 0 to 60.
Much better. Yeah.
That's
the ironic part. Yeah.
So the contrary action, it's almost like I can't think of a state that I'm in where doing the opposite of what I feel like doing is not usually the right answer. I said that in a really double negative way, but I'm saying, like, most of the time, if there's something you want to avoid, if you do that thing, you get a lot of benefit.
Yeah. Yeah. You've overcome the hard thing, and you can do hard things.
Yeah, that, but there's also like I don't know if it's dopamine or serotonin, or because you get self-trust, right? Self-respect, what you just said, like, I can do things. But you also get like, there's my metaphor for this is like there is a lockbox around all of these power-ups in your brain. And when you throw the lock, that is the self-respect part. And then the power-up is something different. Like, if you were afraid of, like, so I'm working on being on social media. So my skill is very low. So I'm really avoidant on like writing my posts and, and shooting the videos and doing the pictures and things. But it's like every time I do it, like I'm not just proud, I also get the benefit of like, ooh, crafting my message. And then sometimes I'll get a like or, a new follower or whatever. And I get excited about that. So there's the benefit of doing the hard thing. And then there's also the whatever
Mhm.
you're working for gives you some reward too.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's like, you don't just, there's the discipline, but then there's also the payoff.
Yeah. And I wish I could remember this, but Huberman was talking about this on the Goggins episode. There's a part of your brain that we're talking about here that is happening when you work it, it gets bigger. And when you don't work it, that kind of atrophies, just constantly getting bigger or less, depending on how much you put into it. Just listen to the Goggins episode and he'll lay it out. It's completely fascinating.
Well, the the brain doesn't know an exception to the rule, right? Like a brain doesn't know, oh, we don't drink except for when we do, right? Like every time you choose to if you don't every time you exercise the lack of impulse control, then the neural groove for that, impulse gets
It's
easier, stronger and easier. And then every time you exercise impulse control, that neural pathway gets stronger. And it's just a vote. And it's never 100%. It's never 0 or 100, even if it feels like it. But,
Mm-hmm.
for some people, if you're like an addict, it's like 60-40, 99 to 1, whatever. It's outsized in one direction. But every time you use the other way, it's another vote for it. And it becomes less of a unbelievable option, right? The believability increases for your your ability to select what you actually want.
Correct.
Cool. So
Habits.
physically move, eat, get some sunlight in your
Sunlight.
eyeballs. So how do you
Early
do?
in the morning.
So when you get hit with this, do you have a ritual that you perform? Like, okay, I'm feeling this way. It's that time of year again. I have to X, Y, or Z.
Oh yeah. So I definitely I get up and it's still dark out usually, and I throw on all the lights. And this is I'm taking this from Huberman's protocols, and sort of making it my own in a way. Throwing all the lights, and I put on that little sad lamp so it's bright in my eyes. And then once the sun starts to come up, and it's kind of cool to watch the sunrise. You want that low solar angle in the morning, so the earlier in the day, the better to get the benefits of sunlight. Once it reaches high noon, it's going to be less so. And then even if you can get the sunset, low solar angle again, that can also help with sleep. And oh yeah, maintaining regular sleep during this time period also very, very, very helpful. So in the morning, that's what I do. I get up, turn all the lights on, start taking my supplements, throw a podcast on. I'm starting to wake up and learn. And then when the sun comes up, I go outside if it's sunny, then I can stay for 10. If it's rainy, which it usually is, then it's umbrella and I'm just out there. And I have my phone and podcast going at the same time, so I'm not bored to death. Or you could just take a mindful moment of 20 minutes and just take it in. It's hard when you can't stand the thing you're looking at. For me, I just looking at the rain through the window, I hate it so much. I can't stand it. So that's hard, but I know I need the sunlight. So getting outside is good. And you just kind of feel a little bit better being out of the house because you have all your environmental triggers in the house that will remind you of like what you perceive as like, oh, here's another shitty day, cue the depression or whatever. So getting out of the house is just like, oh, I can't look at that thing that reminds me of one more day of, hibernation. So that's what I've been doing. And then when it's like this, you can actually leave the house and go do things and connect with people. That's another good one. Like talk to humans, connect, even if it's on the phone, or even it's on FaceTime, do it. It's helpful. You got to find things that help you. Even if you get that anhedonia thing, like still try to do the thing that gives you joy. And if it's not, try something else. If you do nothing, it's going to get worse. And then cumulatively go the other way to where you can't get out of bed and you're getting a full-on depressive episode. That's hard. So that's one way I work with it. The other way is just fucking move, move to a sunny state. That some people have to. It just beats them down too much. Like I'm moving to Texas, I'm moving to Hawaii, whatever. I'm out of here. Colorado. Uh, Colorado gets 300 days of sun. No, believe it or not. Isn't that crazy? Oh, you can move to Bend in Oregon. Perfect. If you want to stay in Oregon, go to Bend. Perfect. More sun. So there are workarounds. But so for me, it's getting sunlight, doing things that give me joy, connecting with humans, getting regular sleep. I go down and get up the same time as much as possible. Keep that do my track with. I have the Aura ring and track my sleep and things like that. So that's what I do.
Well, all of those things seem valuable, and um, I don't think that there's anything in there that people would think is outlandish advice. For me personally, I kind of have a checklist of like 8 or 10 things I need to do every day. They're really easy though. It's like somebody a gracious text, workout, eat on plan. These like these little things. I just go through them, even if I don't feel like, especially if I don't feel like it. And I always tell myself when I get to the end of the checklist, then if I want to like zone out and watch TV or,
Perfect. Yeah.
whatever, it's fine. And inevitably I have a better day if I just
Yeah.
go through
Yeah.
my checklist. And I think that's the thing that creates character is the willingness to go through, even when you don't necessarily feel as hopeful, because you could take hope-filled action without necessarily feeling like, excited
Yes.
about it.
I like how you said that. What did you say?
Hope-filled action.
Yeah. Just because you don't want to doesn't mean you can't do it. If you ask the feeling part of your brain, do you want to do this? What do you think it's going to say 100% of the time? Do I feel like working out today? Once you have that conversation, you're going to get an answer and it's going to be a downhill or uphill battle from there. What's that other running joke? What's the hardest workout you do every day? The front door.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
mean,
or whatever it is, you get out of bed.
yeah, that's right. But I think I say this all the time, but people over index on intensity and under index
Mm.
on consistency. It's like
Mm.
I'd rather have I convince myself to leave with some energy left in the tank way more often than I convince myself to get to the gym. Because like I don't have expectations about how hard or how much I'm supposed to lift, but I just have to get there and do it. And then I'm in a good place once I do that. But it's very if you have too it's really easy to put pressure and expectation on ourselves. And if I have to squat, 95% of my max today, God, I'm gonna delay that workout as long as I can.
Yes.
But yeah, man. So for seasonal affective disorder, eat, work out, move, connect with people. Like you said, FaceTime if you can't get in front of them. Uh,
Mm.
get that daylight in, and yeah, and especially if you don't feel like it, I feel like that's the more strong indicator that the greater um the greater the resistance, the greater the payoff.
Yeah, and that feels good. And then once you get that, that's how you can kind of trick the feeling brain. It's like, oh, remember how good that felt? Yeah. Like, oh, let's do it. Okay. It sucks because that limbic part of the brain is like kind of dumb, but it has all the power. And the prefrontal cortex is super smart, has almost like just a little bit of power. It knows what to do, but the feeling the brain will just thump it every time. But if you trick it and go, remember how good this feels, it gets on board and then you're off to the races. It's kind of like that analogy of like that person riding an elephant. The person's like thinks they're controlling the elephant, but that motherfucker can do whatever it wants when it wants to. So you got to have some good trickery going on, or else you're gonna get tossed.
Yeah, man. Oh yeah. It's like if you're ever the prefrontal cortex, that little the rider, not the elephant. If you're
Mm.
ever thinking about if you're ever burning up willpower to not do something, like don't text that ex, don't drink the beer, don't, instead of thinking about or doing any worrying about willpower, if you have a moment of consciousness, you want to fix your environment so you can't, you get rid of the alcohol, you delete
Yeah.
your ex's number, you block that, you do everything you can while you're conscious of it to clean out your cache and just make it impossible for you to have a relapse. And then when the elephant takes back over, which is inevitable, then you'll just do what your environment tells you to do, and that will be hopefully the right thing if you set it up properly.
That's perfectly said. We're pretty dumb for how smart we are, aren't we?
Yeah, well, I mean, well, maybe on our next episode we'll go deeper into crafting an environment, because
Yes.
environment is responsible for a lot of our successes and failures. And I don't think I mean, we unconsciously, wise people unconsciously set up really great environments, right? Like, if you set your home up to have comfort but not a lot of distractions, right? Like you don't have a lot of gadgets and electronics and stuff,
Clutter.
it's easier to focus. Yeah. But if you if you have an impulsive personality, and then you have a lot of temptations around you, then you're setting your life up for a lot of hardship.
Oh yeah, don't have that Xbox controller out on the table.
Exactly right. Oh man. All right. Well, I think we covered it pretty well. We know what to do when we're sad. And any last tips for the warriors watching or listening to the podcast?
On this topic, try not to have the conversation with your feeling brain. It's hard when you're depressed. Have an intention and just say, don't have the conversation. If you notice you're having the conversation, do I feel like this? Just interrupt it. You can do the Mel Robbins 5-second rule, which works, which you just count down from 5 to 1 and then you move. That interrupts that conversation because you're using numbers and it's a different part of your brain. Like we're not talking, do I want to do it? Like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, move. Just stand and walk, go towards something. And then it's changed. And you'll notice it's not the same dynamic if you're sitting there. Do I feel like getting out of bed? No. Well, your feet are on the ground and you're out of bed. Order of operations 1, done. And then you go from there. And then implement all the other things we've sort of talked about. Or make it work for you. Make a routine and a schedule, because it is cumulative. You can't just do it a couple times a week and hope that it all goes away, because it won't. You need that light consistently. You need all these practices consistently.
All right. Well, you heard it here. Get consistent. And aside from helping you with your sad, it'll make you a happier person as well. In my experience, when I'm following my checklist.
It will. Yeah. No free dopamine. Then you get the reward after. The dopamine comes after. Do the ice bath. It sucks at first, but then the dopamine comes and it's like, that was great.
Man, I love it. Love the conversation, Miles. Appreciate you, man. Look forward to the next one too.
Likewise. Until then. Out.